to inflation in Nigeria. Now, the headline rate has maintained an upward trajectory since September 2019. The acceleration in food price inflation is mainly driven by increases in prices of onion, bread, cereals, potatoes, tubers, meat, fish, fruits, oils, and other vegetables. Now, the latest report from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that food index jumped 74 basis points to hit 17.39%, dominated by increases in prices of farm produce and staple food prices. Now, the urgent need for a combination of broad-based monetary and fiscal stimulus and policy measures to curb the rise in inflation and contraction in outputs is no doubt a necessity at this point in time. Well, joining me now in our Lagos studio to discuss and also address the food crisis we have in the country, fueling inflationary pressures, I have with me economist Michael Ilo. Good to have you on the Breakfast Show today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, how much of a concern is this for you, looking at the rising inflation in terms of food prices that we've seen month on month? For so many Nigerians, this is quite unbearable, coupled with the high cost of living at this point in time.
I think the issue is it's not a small issue. Inflation, it's a form of tax on the income of the masses. When, for instance, you have a salary of between 30 and 50,000, and somehow you find out that what ordinarily takes you maybe 15,000 to procure in a month, let's say food, for instance, now you have to be spending 25, 30 or more thousand naira to do the same thing. Obviously, it will have a resultant effect on the other things you could afford ordinarily.
Let me paint a clearer picture for you now. Rice is a staple in Nigeria. A bag of rice goes for about 30, 32, 33, 40,000 naira per 50 kg bag of rice at this point in time, where Nigerians have to pay much more for electricity. Transportation cost in general is a little higher as well.
Yeah.
How much of a pinch is this, and what do we expect now from government in terms of managing all of these inflationary pressures?
Well, I think it's been said all over and over again that the role of governance is to improve the welfare and security of the masses. So we are not living in mass, as it were. People are living in real time. The government has a fiduciary and constitutional responsibility to make sure that they look out for the little Joe on the streets. It's only in Nigeria that I see that government does policies without thinking in deep about how those policies are going to affect the ordinary man and woman on the street. It's somehow immoral. It's unfair, if we have to use that language. Government has to look at policies. I read a document some time back that any city where you have 2 million people should be thinking of even underground network kind of transportation. In UK, for instance, you can buy an Oyster card for transportation throughout the city of London, maybe for as little as $1-2 a day, £1-2 rather. When you get that Oyster card, it doesn't matter where you are going, it doesn't matter the means of transportation, whether by bus or by rail, you are covered, because they need to make sure that the cost is controlled for the average person. Some people buy a card that they can use for a whole month, no matter whatever happens. But in Nigeria, for instance, you can't really do that. Nobody will tell you that you want to take BRT, that, okay, we can control the cost for you. Even the BRT buses, they have changed fares, apparently, over the last. Was there an increase in income? Some states in Nigeria was putting taxes on bread recently. These are the things that push people out of the poverty basket.
We've heard of cries from the Bread Makers Association that the cost of margarine, egg, vegetable oil, and a whole lot more has increased. Bread is another staple that we also have to look at. But at this point in time, what short-term measures do you think government can adopt to ensure that we address the production constraints we have, the transportation issues, as well as wastage, before we now even talk about proper processing?
Well, the thing that affects inflation and cost of living mostly is government policy. Government policy, then you look at infrastructure decay and deficits. If you look at the issue of security in the north, for instance, these people are predominantly farmers. The things they make on the farms, they send down south for sales and get their own money to do other things. But when the roads are bad, when there's insecurity, when they can't even go to their farms, it was in the news lately that even maybe 8 or 10 ASPs, Assistant Superintendent of Police, were kidnapped. If the people that you are trusting to provide security for you, even are at the mercy of kidnappers and bandits, how safe do you feel? You know, some farmers actually pay bandits and these insurgents for safety, to even allow them to not attack their farms, to even allow them to reap what they have sown. You know, they are paying those costs have to be transferred to the end users, to the consumers at the end of the day. So it's a ripple effect.
At state-by-state level now, let's use Lagos as a model city, for example. What should Lagos State also be doing now in terms of boosting agricultural production and also trying to meet the demand? If we just take Lagos State as an example.
Okay, I think at the Lagos State level, what they can try to do is to reduce multiple taxations. You know, them, if they can provide the funds for SMEs to be able to do one or two things. Lagos is overstretched.
Still within the agriculture space.
Within the space, you know, if you provide the funds for those who are interested in agriculture, maybe they will. It's not the whole country that is under insurgency.
Exactly.
There are lands in Ondo, in Ogun, in Oyo that people who are encouraged with financial means to produce, they can go to those places, go into fishery, go into agriculture, animal husbandry, and the rest of it. But at the end of the day, you still have to make sure, because inflation, they were talking about earlier, there's cost push, there's demand pull, there's hyperinflation and different kinds of inflation. So if you are not encouraging people to have some stability in their lives, no amount of government policy will solve the problem of fear, or people trying to do one or two other things with their money. I was checking yesterday, the rate for treasury bill has gone down to even less than
quite a record low.
1%. So what do people do? People now put the money in the bank. They won't. They will look at other things they can do with their funds, even buying foreign currency, for instance.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution on the show so far, Michael Ilo, and hopefully we don't see all of these inflationary pressures just push Nigerians much more to the wall. Hopefully. Thank you very much.